Hi folks. If you go to Google and just hit GKE Enterprise, how we saw the explanation for GKE on AWS, similar way. So if you come down and hit here GKE Enterprise deployment option, you will see GKE on AWS as well. So all we are trying to do is the same stuff. So if you click GKE on AWS architecture, so that will eventually take you to the kind of architecture which we are planning to set it up here. And in the same page, in the left side, if you come little bit down and click on this create section, create, update, and delete cluster section under manage clusters. So you will be redirected to overview about the explanation like different regions, how we showed for Azure. And the similar way, if you see here, this is a Google location and the corresponding AWS location will be this. Similarly, you will have one dedicated page for instance type. What are all the instance type it supports? Note that all the instance which currently you are running in AWS might not support for this Anthos. I mean, basically to install the GKE on AWS. So you need to choose this particular machine family type only. So you have still a lot of options here with C series, L series, M series, memory optimized, compute optimized, all those things. You have a lot of options here still. And then if you go back, further down here, I mean, create cluster. So before you do this, in the Azure section, how we mentioned, you have this before you begin section as well. Click on the overview, and you will see the typical steps which you need to perform here, just like same Google Cloud CLI. Since you have already done this as a part of the Azure and you enabled all these API, you no need to do again. And then AWS CLI. In Azure case, we installed Azure CLI. Here we are installing, AWS CLI. That's it. And then we are setting up a particular region type. And then, like how in Azure we have set up VNet, in AWS we are setting up VPC. A typical Azure VPC skeleton where you are setting up, I mean, creating a VPC within, which is spanning, I mean, consisting of three different availability zone. Basically, you are creating three private subnets and public subnets, which are part of these availability zones. And then basically, this public subnet is where you are creating an NAT gateway to provide a connectivity for all these private virtual machines which are installed inside a private subnet, which are again same availability zone. That's the requirement of AWS, because the way these three cloud virtual, I mean the VPC are basically the virtual private cloud or virtual network, how it works in three different public clouds are slightly different. So this is this skeleton structure, and typically, then the internet gateway eventually provides a route to connect to internet. So that's all it is, and then couple of IAM roles like how we are doing app registration and service principal in case of Azure, and then KMS key to store some kind of encrypted keys, and then SSH key pair, which is basically required for you to log into individual worker nodes. So that's it. Now, without wasting the time, let's go to our repository. Again, same in the Anthos sample section under Anthos multi-cloud. Earlier we have done Azure. In this case, if you click on AWS, this is what we are trying to do. So what I have done, I have cloned it to my local, I mean my particular repository. So now same thing in the readme section, it will give you like how we did last time. We will do the same thing. We will run the Terraform commands, and then we'll go back and see the explanation. It's a straightforward explanation. There is it's a very simple Terraform skeleton. So if you come down server config and gcloud auth, So since it is two different provider, in earlier case it was Azure and here it is AWS, it's nothing wrong if you do again gcloud auth login and all. So but since the same shell I have not changed, so for me it is not required. Gcloud auth list also it's same. And then I have already installed AWS CLI, so you can see here. So if not, you can follow this documentation and AWS configure. I'm not going to perform this one because it will allow you to enter your secret key, access keys and all, which for security reasons I'm not going to show here, but I have already done. And I know since I have already done, I will try to hit one small command like AWS get instance metadata, and let me try to do just head. Okay, if you see here, it's working. I'm able to, fetch the details. That means my AWS command is working. But if you just, hit AWS configure in your command prompt, it will be asking your access key and secret key. So which, again, if you click here, you can go and generate this, the documentation, like how to generate your, generate your access key and secret key will be shown here. Or if you go to IAM, you can go back and create a new user, and you can for that particular user you can go and create the access key and secret key. If you're a root user, I mean, we never recommend anybody to use root users access key and secret key. That would be the disaster, I can say. We should never. So you should create a user, and for that particular user you need to create a access key and secret key, and you need to use that user for your automation. That is what is the best practice, and Amazon recommended options as well. So if you come back to the documentation, so now since I've already done, and my project is the same, which I'm not going to change. And if you want, you can again do this, which is not required, but we're not going to lose anything either. So So for example, if you are doing this video, if you're following first, and if you're not installed your, I mean, if you don't want to install Azure on your, I mean, GKE on your Azure, right? So you can always, go back and perform this step. There you go. And gcloud config list as well. You can list and see. If you're not, you can go and set your project with the help of this command. Since I've already done, that is the reason why I've just set, gcloud config list, which my config is, using this project, account details, everything. Couple of APIs, which again mentioned in this documentation, as I shown in the prerequisite step, basically here. So that is what it is mentioned here. Since it's already done my side, and we have already enabled this as a part of Azure as well. I'm not going to, and cloning the cloud to your local, which I've already done and kept it. And what I will do is, if you go here, AWS, so this is the place where I have my code cloned, and now all you need to do is initialize and apply. So now what we will do, this is the Terraform TF file. So, okay, let me go to the browser itself and show you. So, if you go to TF file, so this is my project. Once again, the admin users, the name prefix, like AWS cluster. So, I want my cluster to be prefixed with this name, and after that, whatever the suffix entries which I give. So, it's my personal choice. That's all. Our node pool instance type. So I was showing sometime back in this video that only there are supporting, I mean, specific kind of a machines which supports this kind of implementation, which is present here. And T3 medium, you can see here it is supported. So there are some other supported machine types are there which are costly. So this is the cheapest. So that's the whole idea. There is nothing, other specific reason to choose this. Similarly, cluster versions as well, which I have already showed you. Here that is also, we are doing this one. And then location page as well. In the beginning of the session, I showed how we are choosing this. And the availability zone, since in the VNet itself we are creating 3 availability zones. Let's spread or control plane. This is basically for control plane availability zones. Your one master node is here, second is here, third master node is here. That's all. So that's the at the high level. So now before we go to the explanation of individual modules and all, let's quickly run the Terraform and then we will go back to that explanation. So I'll just go and do Terraform init. This might take a couple of seconds. All right, now this is done. Now let me try to hit plan. If the entire configuration is good and all goes well, the plan should give us the exact stuffs what it is. Oh, there you go. It's listed here. Let's quickly go one by one. Again, some suffix and then the project. Ah, there you go. This is the place where you are creating your Google, Kubernetes cluster, GKE on AWS. So here's the explanation, which region, blah blah, and then all these things. And then if you come down little bit below, there you go, control plane. So your control plane version, the instance type for the control plane, and further if you come down again, I was giving the explanation about this in my previous video for Azure. Same thing here. Let's assume if you're a beginner, if you're not watched my previous videos and this is the first video itself you're watching and you want to install just Anthos, I mean basically your GKE and AWS and register to fleet. Here is the thing. Let's assume, this is the first cluster we are creating as a part of your Anthos stack, right? So what it does is if the fleet is not already created, it is going to create a fleet. Since you're not mentioned any name, this is going to pick up a name which is same as your project. That's how it is designed. So the project name hyphen fleet it will append. So that's the fleet name, and then it will register eventually your project to that fleet. Since the fleet is already created in our case because it's an extended session of what we have done in the previous video, that is the reason why I strictly advise everybody to follow the sequential order of which the videos are released, because this is very, very important to have the deep concept of Anthos, from beginning. So since the fleet is already created here, it's not going to create a fleet. It's just going to register this cluster into that fleet. And then if you come down, if you come down further, the other authorization type and control other things, and that's all about this. And then in the below you are creating a node pool. A node pool is also we're using the same machine type, and that's all. No remaining thing we'll see in the explanation of the code. Now quickly I'll do Terraform apply. Now let me enter. Okay, now let me go back to the module and let's try to have the explanation for this. So the TFR section I have already explained. That's it's just defining couple of variables here with ID and instance type and all. And in the variable section as well, the same things to support those as a typical variable section where GCP project ID, name prefix, same set of you're just giving the definition here and you're supplying the value through TFVARs. So since it is spread in three different availability zones, this is my CIDR range and this is my VPC range. Then the NAT range. All those things are defined here. You are always free to go and change this with whatever the IP configuration you want. Let's go back. Yeah, it's going good. Now, if you go to main section, I mean, this provider is just the Terraform provider section, which is, I mean, basically what provider we're using, the version. In this case, we read both Google module as well as, Amazon module. So that Amazon module details will be mentioned inside a module. So since we are calling here the individual module, that is the reason why here we are referring Google module. So that's the explanation. Same thing here as well, like how we have used in our Azure section, defining some locales to append our naming. So since our name is AWS-cluster and some random string which is of length 2, maybe some XZ, YZ, AB, something like that of string it is going to generate. And eventually my cluster name would be, what do you call AWS hyphen cluster hyphen SP, something, something like that. And then module KMS, again, all these modules, whatever it is doing is same thing what we are mentioning here, these things. KMS is this module, IAM is this module, VPC is this module, and then SSH key pair is this module. That is what being called individually here. I'm sorry. Yeah. So that's about this. I think it's straightforward. I don't think so. It is requiring any explanation. It's a straightforward. Just go through this. You will definitely understand. As I mentioned repeatedly, the prerequisite to understand the entire Anthos in detail is like to have some basic knowledge on certain tools like Terraform modules, Istio, which again I'll try my best to cover about these tools separately. Let's see how it goes, but definitely on the Istio, I'm planning to have a couple of sessions to give a strong fundamentals on that before you try to understand service mesh, because that is very, very necessary for the individuals to have that detailed funda on Istio. You have multiple choices for service mesh, although of course, but uh, the popular choice in the market is Istio. So this is the module, and then this is the fleet project where we are registering. And again, same thing. This is not required, but anyway, same thing. I think I forgot to show in my previous video for Azure. I think it should be here somewhere. I don't know. Okay, I think it is not there. Maybe at least I'll show it for Azure when the output is, completely given. So that's about this. Now let's go back to our Google console and click on all fleets. So currently if you see still it is showing 1 because the cluster creation is still in progress here, I think. So gateway creation is, yeah, if you see cluster is still creating. Now what you can do is you can go and track this here. Ah, so if you go to EC2, which region I'm creating, that I can see in TFVars. US East 4. Oh, 1 second, which one it is? Oh, sorry, US East 1 is the AWS location. So US East 1, North Virginia, there you go. You will see, you should see in fact three master nodes which are up and running now. Since master node is ready, let me try to refresh this. No, still not, because I think still in the creation phase. So yeah, 3. And then if you come to instance groups, I think AWS uses or auto scaling group. I think auto scaling groups. auto scaling groups it is. So let's wait for the script to complete. It may take maximum, 3 to 6 minutes max. Ah, there you go. It's done. So here is a simple explanation. This is our fleet. As I said, one fleet for one project. This is our project. And now within that, our Azure cluster is already registered. Now the second cluster which registered here is, the node pool it is creating still, but already you can see, I mean, which you can go and track here. If you go inside this cluster and click on the nodes, it's still in, provisioning state. Let it create. Let's not be, too much hurry for that. So we will wait for a Terraform to complete, but you can see here. So this is our fleet, and if you see the cluster type and the location, and currently it is still unavailable because it's in creation phase. Let's give another minute or two to complete. Hmm, there you go. So it is done. Okay. So now let's go back and refresh. Now in my local, you should see something called as var data. This is what I was mentioning here. If you see, it contains all this. Since I'm destroying this, this is just for temporary uh, purpose. It contains some kind of an information about encryption keys and all, which for security purpose we should not be keeping it inside your folder and all. Anyway, since I'm destroying this entire environment after the demo, so I feel it's safe for me to display it, because since it's just for demo purpose. So it's a similar thing, it is going to, I think it should be there in my local for Azure as well. Let me go back and see. Ah, there you go. Yeah. So same thing. SSH key. This is the key where which you will use to log into your worker nodes and the cluster name, project details. That's all. I mean, it's just a simple script which you're generating. This is just for your easy, export purpose to reuse somewhere and all. That's the whole purpose of that create was module. Nothing much. If you don't want, you can always remove that module because there are other ways to extract that information always. So let's go back. Let's refresh and see the latest status of the cluster, AWS cluster. So now let me go to, there you go. It's already displaying the information here. So if I go inside a cluster and nodes, you can see nodes are already running as a part of this node pool. Now if you click inside that node pool, you will see all the details. To see the informations here, you need to log into cluster, which I suggest to do it through fleet. Go click on the fleet name, go inside a fleet, and then you will see an option here to log in. Since for Azure we have already logged in here, similarly for Amazon, let's log in. So similarly how we logged in for Azure, you have couple of methods to log in. I would suggest to go with the best practices for production with either identity provider based on login or token based login or through Azure AD and all. Since this is for demo purpose, I'm doing it my ID, which is Google Identity Login. So now you see I have logged into cluster. Now if I click on this cluster and you will see the section here. If I click on the node pool and come down, There you go. It is displaying the node names. Now if I go back and check here, auto scaling groups, EC2 instances, these three machines, basically whatever it is showing, this is the place where your control plane is running in three different availability zones. When I say control plane, it's your Kubernetes control plane, like the API server, your etcd, all those things is part of this control plane. And if you come down in the auto scaling group, so this is the auto scaling group which is created by the GKE to have its worker nodes. So that's the simplest explanation. The currently what is this? There are some previous auto scaling groups. I think it's present, which are not deleted. So if I go back and see what is my auto scaling group name, um, come back here, node pool, and you see all this other cluster details like tags, networking, all those things. You can come back and check here. Now let's try to connect to cluster. Again, go to all fleets, click on the fleet, see your cluster. In this case, it's AWS. Click here, connect. You will get full details. Come back to your command prompt, enter this. This will fetch the credentials for you. Now, if you see kubectl config, get context, you will see several contexts here. I have some previous context present as well, so don't worry about this. So if you see, these two are the one, I think, where is the Azure one? Are what you can do, kubectl config current context, which is this galvanic pulsar T9 global SP. So that is this. Now you do kubectl get nodes. There you go. It will show your worker nodes. Now you do kubectl get ns. So how we saw in Azure, same thing you will see GKE Connect API and then GKE system. So now let's go back to our UI and go to the workloads. So this test deployment, whatever I have done, we can do the same deployment in the other cluster as well. So now what we will do, workload deploy. So AWS test deployment. Again, I will create in a namespace called test. Let it be the same. So you can see here, now you will be given two choices here. One is the cluster, GKE cluster created on Azure. Another one is GKE cluster created on AWS. Let me select AWS and then container details. Okay. And then deploy. I'm not going to create any service and all. So yeah, should be good. This might take a couple of seconds, not even a minute. It's very fast. So the detailed explanation about the Anthos various features and everything, we will be having a separate session where we are going to review about all these individual stuffs like storage, object browser, security, gateway. This is specifically for the mesh part. These section entire thing, which is like gateway services, network functioning, feature manager, config mesh, where you will be given, enabled with a mesh ID in the cluster creation. And later as well, you can enable. And then, different secrets, config maps, all those things, you can, config, which is a part of your ACM, Anthos config manager. something like that. So now if you click on workloads, so that's the that's the beauty of Anthos. It's a single control plane, as you can see. You will be able to deploy it to both GKE cluster on Azure, GKE cluster on AWS. These are just two flavors. You can even do the on-prem clusters as well, which is deployed on your VMware and even deployed on any of the bare metals. That also you can attach to this and you can do it. That's the second option which we are going to explore in the upcoming sessions. So now we will come back here and again see kubectl ns. This will show you test namespace. Now do kubectl get all hyphen n test. There you go. So it's even it is enabled with replicas, HPA, all those things. And if you give hyphen o wide, even it will demonstrate you like where it is present, which is basically worker node details. Good. Thank you, friends. Please do subscribe to channel for upcoming videos. So in the next session, we would be concentrating GKE cluster on Google itself because we have already covered the scenario of GKE on Azure, GKE on AWS. So the last piece was GKE on GCP itself, and then how all these three different cloud flavors, we can see in a single control plane. Thank you. See you soon.